Hey folks, welcome back to the channel, Pop Retro 1 at Twitter, Pop Retro 1 on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Pop Retro 1. So you can find me on social media over at any of those places. Thought I'd pop in real fast to talk a little bit about my revisit of the 2004 movie Napoleon Dynamite. Now I gotta say, back in 2004, I was like 28 years old, and this movie kind of came and went by, and I didn't pay too much attention to it. I don't know, at that point in my life, I was kind of like, oh, this is just, I mean, there were some funny parts, but I was still like, I was not as appreciative as I am of all manners and types of film, TV, comedy. I wasn't as into it back then as much as I enjoyed it today. And I think part of it had to do with the fact that I was my age and my siblings were all high school and middle school age, and they loved this. And this was something that they would watch over and over. And I only watched it once back then, and I thought, there's some funny parts, but man, it's so stupid. Now, of course, the whole idea is that is the whole idea. That's the point of this quirky comedy. So my now 17-year-old nephew stayed over last weekend, and he wanted to watch Napoleon Dynamite. And I said, I think I got that on Blu-ray. And I dug through my stacks, my rack back here, and I found it, and I did have it, and I hadn't watched this Blu-ray of it yet, and so I thought, what a good opportunity to do that. And so, I mean, it's just a strange, eccentric, quirky comedy, and I felt like I enjoyed it now, today, in 2022, more than I did back in 2004. I just wasn't prepared. It was probably a day where I just didn't give it as much attention as I wanted to, and we probably all have stories like that from 15, 20 years ago. We were just we did different people. So Jon Heder is the star. He is Napoleon Dynamite. I think it's pronounced Heder, Heder. And this really made him. This made him essentially a star, and at least a B-level star. And he went on and he did, this was his breakthrough, but he did Just Like Heaven, The Benchwarmers, Blades of Glory, and just tons of other stuff as I take a peek at his credits. And it all started right here. He had only done, from what I can tell, just a couple of short films. And so his major debut was really right here on Napoleon Dynamite. And the story, it's almost kind of like watching a Seinfeld episode, because it's such a silly story that it's kind of a movie about nothing, and it's really about the personalities involved, because Napoleon is just such a dork, but I don't know if he thinks he's cool, or if he's just so oblivious, and so he acts like he's cool around people, and like he's smarter than he is, and is more athletic than he is. He lives with his super quirky, kind of backward-ish family in, I believe, Idaho, out in the middle of nowhere. I think this was shot in Idaho too. And Aaron Ruell, Ruell, plays his brother Kip, who is also just kind of a big super nerd trying to find his way to being cool, trying to be cool with the ladies. And then there's John Gries, Gries, or is it Grice? I'm not sure how to say it. He plays Uncle Rico, and he's hilarious because he's like the middle-aged guy that just can't quite get over how good he was back in his high school days. And if he wouldn't have gotten injured, he may have been a NFL or a pro player. And so he kind of plays on that. And these characters just sort of bounce off of each other with just silly, comedic, little episodic vignettes. Another aspect of the movie, aside from family, is Napoleon's relationship with his classmates, one of which is Pedro. And Pedro is played by Efren Ramirez, and he's an immigrant. He wants to be class president. I remember people back then, especially younger people, wearing those Pedro for President shirts. And at first I didn't know what it was about. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, they're talking, it's a reference to Napoleon Dynamite. And so that was really popular at the time. And Ramirez, the actor, wound up doing, Employee of the Month a couple years later in 2006. And then after that, I would say, Napoleon's Search for Love. There's a very homely, also quirky, all the characters are pretty quirky, female named Deb, who you kind of just know that they may wind up together by the end. Or if not, you know that he's at least going to try, because she's just as awkward as Napoleon, played by Tina Majorino, I think is her name. And she was a child actor who quit when she was a really young child and then returned to acting when she was 18. And this was her return to acting. And since then, she's been just all over, mostly television, doing stuff like Veronica Mars, True Blood, and Grey's Anatomy. Another actress of note in this film was Haley Duff, Hilary Duff's older sister, I believe. And she plays Summer, who's sort of the preppy, kind of rich kid, hot cheerleader type that all the boys are gaga over. And of course, they try to ask her out and she's having none of it, which is why they can, fall back on a homely, dorky Deb as their date to the prom or homecoming, whatever dance it was that they try to go. I like the music. I like the soundtrack. My second favorite band of all time is Alphaville, a German synth pop new wave band. And their biggest hit, Forever Young, is actually a song that's played in this. And I remember kids, young people, young adults, back when this came out, all of a sudden were listening to that song again. I was like, oh man, that's one of my favorite songs. And then I learned that this is where they heard it, because it was fairly obscure. It was never a big hit outside of Germany, and it was released twice as a single, I believe, in America in 1984 and then again in 1988. And neither time, did it result in a big hit or stardom for Alphaville in the States. So I thought it was cool that they used this movie to bring that up, to bring that back. So small, independent little film. I think it was made for around $400,000. And it brought in over $46 million. So this was a big, big hit. And it even spawned, did anybody see the 2012 animated series? There was a cartoon that was on Fox. They had what was it called? Animation Domination. It was an animation block on Fox that was for adult animation, that they aired. And so I never caught it. I didn't catch it, but there was a Napoleon Dynamite cartoon animated version in 2012. So 8 years after the movie. And it only lasted for 6 episodes, had really high ratings from what I read in its first episode. And then gradually the ratings went down and they had to cancel it. So anyhow, you can find Napoleon Dynamite on Blu-ray. This is from 20th Century Fox. So this may be now a title that's under the auspices of the Walt Disney Company, since they purchased, as far as I understand, most of the 20th Century Fox movie library a year and a half, 2 years ago or so. So, but as far as I know, this is still out. This was produced by Fox Searchlight, or distributed by Fox Searchlight when it originally came out. Now, on this Blu-ray, there's a lot of features, outtakes, deleted scenes, commentary by the writers and by John Heder himself. There's a short film, an audio commentary by director co-writer Jared Hess, producer Jeremy Kuhn, and actor John Heder. Cast commentary with Aaron Rule, Efren Ramirez, John Grease, and Tina Majorino. The making of The Wedding of the Century. And On Location with Napoleon Dynamite, a world premiere, Jared Hess documentary, Napoleon sightings, MTV on-air promo spots, and a still gallery. This actually was produced, I believe, or at least released in with MTV Films and also Paramount Pictures. So Fox Searchlight, Paramount Pictures, and MTV Films were all in the credits for this as far as the release. So there's a look at the back. I'll take a quick look. So did you watch Napoleon Dynamite back in the day? And if you did, how did you like it? And have you rewatched it in modern times? And if you did it hold up for you? Did you still like it, or did you like it more? I actually enjoyed it more, but I think it's just because, too, that I just find that life is short, and, I find more enjoyment in a lot of the things that I wasn't into before, and I just have a more an attitude that's more towards discovering things that are outside of my wheelhouse, as opposed to slagging off things that aren't exactly right up my alleyway, and only watching things that are in the genres that I love. So, and that's been fun these last several years as I've gotten into reviewing movies and TV and music and all sorts of other things on some websites along the web and the YouTube channel here. So there you have it, Napoleon Dynamite from 2004. And come back soon. I will be back with another review and some haul videos coming up real soon.